Today on Rewind, a closer look. We're diving into a movie that feels like it cannot decide what it wants to be and just says yes to everything instead. 1988's action comedy Never Say Die is a New Zealand production, shot on location with that very distinct regional vibe you don't see much in this kind of action movie. It's got that smaller budget feel, but at the same time, it's swinging big with stunts. We've got exploding houses, mysterious hitmen, car chases, helicopters, and a plot that keeps twisting in ways that almost feel accidental. And for a good chunk of the movie, you're not even sure if any of it's real, or if our main character is just completely losing it. So is this a hidden gem of chaotic 80s action, or just a confused mess that accidentally becomes entertaining? Let's find out. The movie kicks off with credits rolling over an airplane landing, and right away we get hit with narration from our main guy, who sounds like he wandered in from a completely different movie. It's got that weird film noir detective vibe, like he should be solving crimes in a trench coat somewhere, but instead he's just coming home from London because he got homesick. Apparently, he left because he was fed up with how his country was being run, which, fair enough. But now he's back and already complaining about getting searched at the airport, so things are going great. He meets up with his wife, they hug, kiss, head out to the car, pretty normal stuff. Until we get to the trunk, there's already a suitcase in there. She casually says she just got back and hasn't finished unpacking yet, which raises an important question. How much luggage did you bring that you couldn't carry one more bag into the house? That suitcase is just living in the trunk now. That's its home. Our main guy, Elf, is played by Tamura Morrison.
He's the kingpin of the galaxy, and you don't want to mess with this guy. It's like when you walk into those cowboy bars and the saloon doors open, and then the first thing you're going to find out is who's the number one gunslinger around here. Otherwise, you're dead,
Yes, Boba Fett himself. But here he's rocking full, slightly confused guy caught in conspiracy energy. And Melissa is played by Lisa Ellibacher.
Axel Foley, what on earth are you doing here?
How you doing?
I'm fine. Hold a second. I'll be right down.
Great.
On the drive back, she mentions that the house is a mess, the power's been cut off. But don't worry, she yelled at the power company, so it should be back on by the time they get there. Always a reassuring sentence to hear right before heading home. We also find out she just went to her father's funeral, alone, because her husband decided to go on vacation instead. Great guy, absolute legend. Then she starts telling him about something weird that happened on her trip. And this is where the movie just starts dumping information on you like it's in a hurry. Her father apparently ran a company researching superconductors, which she laughs off like it's pointless.
Dad had this small company that did research into superconductors. God knows how he expected to make any money from that.
Yeah, who would ever make money off that? After the funeral, she visits her father's business partner / lawyer, who, by the way, is played by Norm from Cheers.
Afternoon, everybody. No!
Which immediately makes this whole thing feel even stranger. Anyway, long story short, he gives her a drink and she falls asleep. When she wakes up, he's gone, and now there are random German guys having a meeting in the room. And when they notice her, they get, as she puts it, snaky. Now, I don't know about you, but that feels like a pretty big deal. Her husband's response?
Arrogant bastards.
What? That's it? Not why were you drugged? Not why were there random dudes in the room? Just those guys sound rude? And somehow she doesn't think it's weird either that she just randomly passed out in this guy's office. So already things are not adding up. But before we can even process any of that, they pull up to the house. And before they can step out of the car, the entire place explodes out of nowhere.
Home sweet home.
Honestly, great start to the movie. A cop shows up, talks to the fire department, and they chalk it up to a gas leak, because of course they do. Power comes back on, spark hits, house goes up, case closed. But then the cop throws in this little comment about how our guy is lucky it wasn't a bomb, since someone might want to kill him over his newspaper columns. And just like that, we learn he's a reporter. Also, the cop, Detective Evans, played by Tony Barry, clearly hates this guy. Apparently our guy wrote an article about him, but between the accent, the mumbling, and whatever audio mixing this movie is working with, I have no idea what he actually said. All I caught was something about him calling him a nerd, which honestly feels like a weak insult for this level of attention. The cop leaves, and the wife kicks his car like a champ, and that's our setup. House exploded, weird story about shady Germans, and a cop who already wants this guy gone. At a hotel, Elf starts going full detective mode, asking Mel if she smelled any gas before she left to pick him up at the airport. She says no. In fact, she even double-checked the stove after making breakfast. So now, Elf is officially suspicious. They head back to the blown-up house to take a look around, and Elf immediately zeroes in on the hot water heater like he's been doing this his whole life. He's like, yep, this was rigged. Wires crossed the spark, set to go off at a specific time, and somehow he even knows it kicks on at 11 a.m. every day, which means whoever set this up knew that too. So now we've gone from gas leak to full-on time bomb.
Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac, yeah. The boy's a time bomb.
And the two of them realize if Elf hadn't been stuck at customs, they'd both be dead. Elf heads straight to the police station and talks to Detective Evans, telling him everything, including that he was followed there by a yellow car, which we never actually saw, but sure, we'll roll with it. Evans immediately shuts him down, says he's imagining things, and refuses to help, because Elf's been writing too many hit pieces on the police. And according to Evans, Elf is just being paranoid.
Oh, yeah.
Elf leaves the station, and immediately there's a yellow car right on his bumper. No subtlety at this time. He speeds up, and it keeps up. He stops at a red light, jumps out, runs over to the driver, and it's just some random woman yelling at him for driving too slow. The light turns green, horns start blasting. Elf does the walk of shame back to his car and takes off. And at this point, yeah, maybe he is just being paranoid. But then, another yellow car pulls out and starts following him. Elf spots it, pulls a few maneuvers, and the car just keeps driving like nothing happened. So now you're thinking, okay, maybe he is just being paranoid.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, at this point, it feels like the movie might go that route. Like nobody's actually after him and the whole thing is just in his head. Elf pulls back out onto the road, another car cuts in front of him, and suddenly his brakes fail. The handbrake just rips clean off, and he crashes. Off camera, of course, because we already used up the explosion budget. Cut back to the police station, where Detective Evans explains it all away again. He says debris from the house explosion damaged the brakes. Totally normal. Case closed. And once again, he tells Elf to stop wasting his time, or he'll have him committed. Because in Evan's eyes, Elf is just being paranoid. Back at the hotel, they discover Mel's suitcase has been gone through, and instead of calling anyone or dealing with that, we smash cut to the two of them on a boat heading to some random island. No explanation, just new location. They arrive, jump into a cab, and the driver immediately starts rambling about a rabbit overpopulation problem, while Elf and Mel awkwardly start making out in the back seat. Totally normal behavior when someone might be trying to kill you. They finally get dropped off, grab their bags, start walking up the driveway, and the cab driver just sits there watching them suspiciously. And now I'm starting to feel a little paranoid.
Oh, yeah.
Inside the cabin, Elf has already gone full survival mode. He found a rifle and is now looking for the bolt so he can go shoot rabbits, because apparently that's how you relax now. Mel tells him to calm down and maybe try fishing instead. You know, something slightly less aggressive. But then she casually tells him the bolt's in the kitchen drawer, so clearly she's not that against the idea. We cut to a seaplane flying over the island, and we come back. Elf is now jumping out of trees like Rambo. He proudly shows Mel the trap he made by immediately setting it off. Which means now you have to reset the whole damn thing. You could have just explained it to her. Mel calls him out, basically says he's going a bit overboard. Meanwhile, the seaplane lands, and out steps a guy with a gun case and sunglasses. And yeah, we all know what that means. This is the bad guy. Or at least what the movie wants us to think is the bad guy. Because at this point, I'm still not convinced there even is a bad guy. I'm still thinking Elf is just paranoid. The sunglasses guy hops into the same cab our couple used, and the driver immediately launches back into his rabbit speech like he's been waiting all day for this moment. At the cabin, Alf is now sitting on the porch, rambling about conspiracies, and even Mel is starting to lose patience with him, because in her eyes, Alf is just being paranoid.
Not this time.
Out in the forest, the hunter starts moving through the bush, and I'm already calling it. He's probably just hunting rabbits, misses a shot, and it looks like he's shooting at them. That feels like exactly where this movie is going. Back at the cabin, Alf and Mel start awkwardly making out. And just as things are about to escalate, we cut to the hunter slowly unzipping his rifle case, and the gun barrel appears. Subtle, very subtle. He lines up a shot and looks right at him through the scope, and now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I was wrong, or maybe this guy's just a creep. And yeah, turns out he's a creep. He's literally spying on Mel's underwear through the scope. Elf hears one of his traps go off, grabs the rifle, and runs outside to investigate. While the hunter starts repositioning, at this point, Elf is running around the bush triggering his own traps. The hunter is circling the cabin, and Mel is the only one who actually sees what's going on. She runs outside to warn Elf just as the hunter lines up a shot. Then there's this awesome slow motion bullet shot flying right at her face. But fake out. Elf shoots the hunter first. And just like that, Elf might have just killed a random guy in the woods. Cut back to the police station where Elf's explaining all of this to Detective Evans, who of course doesn't believe a word of it. Says the guy was just a licensed hunter, completely legit.
I used to be legit. In fact, I was too legit. I was too legit to quit. But now, I'm not legit. I'm unlegit. And for that reason, I must quit.
And now Elf is looking at manslaughter charges up to 5 years. Evans tells him to get lost, reminds him he's only out on bail, and makes it very clear they're watching him closely now. Because in Evans' mind, Elf is dangerously paranoid. Melissa picks Elf up from the police station, and right away, she's the one who thinks they're being followed. So now we've flipped. Elf's not the only one seeing things anymore. She pulls some quick moves and ducks into a lumberyard, and this time, the car actually reacts, slams the brakes, spins around, and comes after them. So now, okay, this is real. What follows is a full-on chase through the lumberyard and warehouse, then out onto the streets. They're drifting corners, blasting through a sign, flying down a hill, and hitting a huge jump. It actually turns into a pretty solid stunt sequence out of nowhere. They think they've lost him, but nope. The car comes flying back over the hill, and the chase is still on. Melissa blows a red light, barely avoids getting taken out, and the chase car gets stuck behind traffic. Everything skids to a halt while she escapes out into a field. The chase car finally catches up to the edge of the field and just stops. The cop pulls up, walks over, and the driver flashes some kind of badge. The cop immediately backs off. So now we've got mystery badge guys. That's probably important. Elf and Mel ditch their car, jump into a cab, and head back to the hotel. Elf stops at the door because earlier he placed a hair across it and now it's broken, meaning someone's been inside. My guess? Probably the maid.
Housekeeping!
They creep into the room, but no one's there, of course. Elf immediately checks the mini fridge and says they didn't touch any of this stuff, which, why would you even care if they touched that? I don't know. I guess it is kind of expensive. Then Elf starts searching the room for bugs or clues or something, going full investigation mode, while Mel is just trying to understand what's actually happening. She asks why anyone would be chasing them through town. What's going on? Elf reminds her, someone is trying to kill him, and she's just like, oh, Elf. So he brings up the hunter he killed, and Mel just shrugs it off, says he was probably a perv, which, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Then she steps out onto the balcony, leans against the railing, and it just gives away. Almost sends her straight over the edge. And now, even she can't ignore it anymore. So naturally, Elf skips bail, and the two of them go on the most ridiculous travel montage possible. A large plane, then a smaller plane, then an even smaller plane, using fake names the whole way. And through all this, Mel keeps flipping back and forth between this is all nonsense and we are definitely going to die. There really is no middle ground. They finally land, but their luggage is missing, because of course it is, and end up in yet another hotel. Elf starts doing a full room sweep, opens a wardrobe and pretends to get scared, making a joke. But Mel's not in the mood. She breaks down crying, saying someone is trying to kill them, and just like that, she's fully on board now. And then a knock at the door. The tension builds. Have they been found? Of course not. It's just housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
Next morning, they go to buy a car, and this is where the movie reminds you it thinks it's a comedy. The dealer is brutally honest about how terrible the car is. Elf says he's being frank about it, and the guy responds, "No, I'm Cyril."
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
That's the joke. And honestly, after that joke, I'm back to thinking nobody is after Elf, despite everything we've seen. Because this feels like the kind of movie where all of this turns out to be nothing. Nothing! Nothing! They buy the car anyway, and it's clearly a piece of garbage, so that's definitely coming back later. Or not. They stop by the side of the road where a guy is working on a helicopter. Someone Elf knows, and now we're being promised helicopter action later. You don't introduce a helicopter like that and not use it. The friend's name is Jack, and is played by the movie's writer and director, Jeff Murphy. He lets them stay at a house up on a hill, says they'll be safe there, and Elf heads back to the airport to grab their previously lost luggage. On the way out of the airport, he spots a black Mercedes slowly rolling up the road, and of course, he assumes it's for him. So he takes off. Mercedes follows. He ducks into a side road, hides, and watches it drive past. He breathes a sigh of relief, and then someone knocks on the window and scares the life out of him. But it's just the property owner. Completely pointless scene. Just to set up a joke about foreigners, and it's not funny at all, which somehow makes it a little funny. Back on the road, Elf spots the Mercedes behind him again, so naturally he floors it and races the train across a bridge. You know, one of those combo road and rail bridges. You don't see them very often. The Mercedes follows, but it doesn't make it. The guys bail out just in time as the car gets obliterated by the train. Honestly, pretty great stunt. Back at the hideout, Elf tells Mel what happened, and somehow this turns into an argument. The fight escalates and Mel storms off, and Elf has to chase her down to the beach while she's literally dropping luggage to run faster. He finally catches up to her, tackles her pretty hard.
Let go of me!
And as they're rolling around in the sand, boom, explosion back up on the trail. Turns out one of the suitcases was rigged, which, yeah, that's going straight on the dumb bomb locations list with the picnic basket and dart drive.
Julie!
They head back up to the house, and just like that, Mel's not mad anymore. Elf says he's going to tell his friend Jack what happened, and Mel just stays behind. Elf tells her there's a shotgun in the closet if she needs it. She immediately turns on some loud music and starts blow-drying her hair, because why would you want to hear anything going on around you? Then, through the window, we see a helicopter. Mel turns and sees it, runs and grabs the shotgun, and suddenly we're in a full-on siege. The chopper lands, two guys jump out and just start shooting at her, no hesitation. She fires back, hitting one of them in the shoulder, and now the whole place is getting shredded by gunfire. Bullets tearing through the walls, Mel scrambling for shells, hiding under tables while this guy tries and fails repeatedly to shoot the door lock. Elf and Jack come flying up in Jack's helicopter, but the gunman immediately opens fire and forces them to pull back out of range. So now we've got a standoff. The guy's shooting up the house, Elf stuck outside, and Mel trapped inside with no more shells. Bullets are ripping through the place, knocking stuff off shelves, and then, finally, a lucky break. A box gets hit, and shotgun shells just rain down in front of Mel. Perfect timing. Elf and Jack land and try to push up to the house, but they get pinned down. So Mel takes over, starts firing back, forcing the goons to retreat towards their helicopter. She keeps shooting, hits the chopper, and now fuel is leaking everywhere. The bad guys scramble and take off, fire a few more shots, and start circling back for another pass. One shot from Jack, and that's it. The helicopter explodes mid-air and crashes onto the beach in a full fireball. Honestly, great payoff. And yeah, at this point, there goes my theory.
You are so stupid.
Elf is not being paranoid. Later that night, they regroup at Jack's place, get drunk, and come up with a new plan. Fake their deaths.
Great plan.
Okay. Next morning, Jack flies them up to the mountains in a tiny plane, planning to make it look like they crashed. Solid plan. Until the plane starts dying midair. Elf immediately thinks sabotage.
Sabotage?
Jack says nobody even knew they were flying. They glide it down, kind of half-ass crash land, and then the plane explodes anyway, because of course it does. Elf casually says he's starting to feel like 007, which triggers something for Mel. Back when she passed out in LA, she remembers hearing the German guy say the number 007. So now the random detail finally matters. Maybe. Turns out they're only a few miles from the hotel Jack was taking them to anyway, so they just walk it off. Check in under Jack's name, and now are officially dead. Later that night, watching TV, they spot one of the German guys, who turns out not to be German at all, but a South African soft drink mogul. Does that matter? Probably. At this point, Elf and Mel finally figure it out. They're not after Elf, they're after Mel. So Elf calls Detective Evans again and sets up a meeting. Evans now believes everything, says yeah, after the helicopter explosion on the beach, kinda hard not to. Charges are dropped, and he's ready to talk. Elf tells him a letter will arrive at the local police station with the time and place to meet them. He's done running and wants to take these guys head on. And honestly, about damn time.
It's about damn time.
We've spent half the movie running around, not even sure there was an enemy. And now, finally, the real movie starts. Back at the hotel, Mel mentions something about her hairdryer causing interference on the radio. Elf checks it and finds a transmitter hidden inside. So that's how they've been tracking them the whole time. Also explains why she's been blow drying her hair every 5 minutes. Next morning, they're about to get on a bus when they spot themselves on the front page of the newspaper. So much for those charges being dropped. They're worried about them being recognized, but still get on the bus anyway. And then the movie throws in one of those jokes that, yeah, didn't age that great. Let's just say it was a different time. Meanwhile, Detective Evans shows up at the station to get the letter, only to find out someone already picked it up pretending to be him. So now things are getting messy. Elf and Mel wait at a bar for Detective Evans to show, but they spot some suspicious guys pulling up outside instead, and immediately hide. They overhear them asking if anyone's seen them, and they bolt out the back door. Elf starts thinking Evans might be involved. The guys flash their badge again, same mystery badge, and we cut to Elf and Mel running through the woods, where they decide to stop and lay low. Which turns into immediately fooling around. And we oddly cut to Evans, who's now sitting in a jail cell. And when we cut back to Elf and Mel, post laying low, and somehow they just walk back into town like nothing happened. They sneak out of an alley, get spotted by the bartender, and now the goons are on them again, guns out, chasing them down the alley. The goons split up, Mel gets spotted, shots fired, Elf steals a van and absolutely demolishes one of the guys by crushing him into a shed. Mel jumps into the back of the van and they take off. The remaining goon opens fire, but luckily there's that filthy old mattress back there that just so happens to be bulletproof. The goon gives chase, but Elf immediately loses control of the van somehow and rolls it into a ditch. So now we're back on foot. They climb up the embankment, only to come face to face with the last goon. Gun raised, and then bang. The guy drops. It's Detective Evans up on the bridge. Now with all three of them in Detective Evans' car, he starts piecing things together. Says his phone must have been tapped. That's how they knew where to find them, because he didn't tell anyone. Elf and Mel show him the newspaper, ask what happened to the charges being dropped. Evan says he did drop them, so they must have been reinstated. Then he casually mentions someone forged his ID and had him thrown in jail. And yeah, he just talked his way out. Sure, why not? Now at yet another hotel, Mel finally explains everything, bringing up the one line that's been floating around the whole time. 007. Down she goes. And this is where the movie tries to connect all the dots. Turns out this whole thing is about a plan to blow up a plane. Flight 007. To pressure the US into keeping billions invested in South Africa. That's the big conspiracy.
Everybody got that?
And of course, no one's going to believe them, so naturally, they have to stop it themselves. While all this is happening, Elf takes the transmitter they found in the hairdryer, rigs it into a flashlight and turns it on, and sticks it into a box. So now they've got a decoy. Mel decides to call her father's business partner.
Afternoon, everybody. No!
She asks about the South African guy, and he immediately gets a little nervous. Says he'll check his files and see if anything's off, tells her to be careful, and hangs up. Meanwhile, Detective Evans hands a package to the bus driver. Back in the car, we find out what that was. That was the transmitter. So now the bus is the decoy, and anyone tracking them is following the wrong target. In LA, the lawyer
Afternoon, everybody. No!
is packing a briefcase. He pulls out a gun and kisses it and heads out. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. Later that night, the group boards a ferry. Elf and Mel hide in the trunk to get through the checkpoint. Evans goes upstairs to handle things, and Elf and Mel just sit in the car waiting and immediately start fooling around. These two cannot help themselves. They arrive at port, and of course the cops are waiting. Evans talks to them, and it becomes pretty clear the police are in on it. They've known every location, even the one the bus went to. Evan pushes back, basically like, "What are you going to do, arrest me?" The cop says, "Yeah." Downstairs, Elf and Mel are still sitting in the car when the door slowly opens and the cop's standing right there. Then the gate starts closing. Upstairs, Evan bolts full sprint across the ferry, leads them on a chase, makes it back to the car and jumps in the back, and Mel floors it. They smash through the gate, tear through the ferry terminal, and burst out onto the street, straight into another police chase. One of the cop cars wipes out into a truck hauling feather mattresses, and of course feathers go everywhere, because this movie cannot resist a visual gag. They tear through the city, fences, tight streets, under pipes, through a bus depot, back out onto the street, spin out, almost get boxed in, but Mel just jumps the sidewalk and keeps going. U-turns, sharp corners, more cops pulling in behind them all along the way, and then they blast into a one-way tunnel. All the cops follow, and at the other end, they barely miss a bus coming in. The bus plows straight into the cop cars, and in a perfect goofy touch, the camera shakes, a tire rolls out, and you just hear people going, "Ouch, ooh, ah." Amazing. And then we cut to them sitting on top of a car hauler. No explanation, just they're there now. Even the movie gave up on explaining that one. Inside the car, they finally slow down for a second and realize they still don't actually have a plan to stop the plane. Elf and Evans start arguing about trust, but Evans lays it out. It doesn't matter anymore. They're all in this together, whether they like it or not. Eventually, they stop to use a phone, because apparently they're just off the car hauler now. No explanation. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Mel calls the lawyer's secretary, who says Norm found what they were looking for and is flying out to meet them. So it's airport meetup time. And while they're standing there, they're literally right in front of their own wanted poster. An old lady notices, waits for them to leave, and immediately rats them out. Ugh, seniors. They stop for gas, and Mel makes quite the impression on the attendant. So when the cops show up asking questions, he happily points them in the exact direction they went. Great help. They drive through the countryside for a bit, then randomly just stop for ice cream, because nothing says we're being hunted and trying to stop a terrorist plot like taking a snack break. Mel takes over driving while Evans just lays down in the back seat for a nap. Perfect timing. And of course, the cops spot them. The chase is back on, but this time with a helicopter. They're racing down the road, cops setting up a full roadblock ahead with guns drawn. Mel sees it, slides the car sideways to a stop, and the cops just open fire, trying to take out the tires. They blow a couple, but she spins it around and floors it the other way. Now it's chaos again. Mel throws the car up onto two wheels, squeezes through tight gaps, and somehow makes it across a pedestrian bridge that shouldn't even be possible. Honestly, great stunt. Even one of the cops is impressed.
Too good for me.
The rest of the cops try to follow, but the bridge starts collapsing under them, forcing them to pull back and regroup on the other side. Now Mel's dealing with shredded tires, so she backs into a shed to open it and tells Elf to grab bolt cutters, which he immediately just finds, of course. She tells him to cut the handbrake cable on the good wheel, and yeah, I'm not even going to question it. The bridge now collapses completely. The cops line up again, guns trained on them, and then Evans just runs off. The cops start shouting through a megaphone, threatening to shoot if the car moves, and Evans rolls out of the garage on the forklift. He spears a fuel barrel, lets it drop, lights it, and creates the smallest distraction fire you've ever seen. The cops open fire anyway, but somehow this is enough. Evan tells them to go, they've got a job to do, and they drive off, because apparently small fires stop bullets. Mel throws the car back up onto two wheels, and now they're driving through a factory to shake the police chopper. And yes, she even two wheels it straight through a KFC, because why not? They spot a plane coming in. Elf tells her to follow it to the airport, and she points out the obvious. Isn't there a harbor in the way? Elf's response, I don't know. And then they just drive straight off the dock into the water.
What, are you retarded?
Later that evening, they somehow made it to the airport and meet up with the lawyer.
Afternoon, everybody. No!
He walks them to his car, calmly explaining he knows where the bomb is. It's in soft drink crates in the cargo hold. Says they should split up to search, and he'll go with Mel. Totally trustworthy guy. As Elf runs through the airport, he spots an ad for the South African soft drink, and the slogan clicks. And just like that, everything finally makes sense. Back in the car, the lawyer drops the act. He's the one behind everything. There is no bomb. He hired the killers, he bribed the cops, and now he's finishing the job himself. Turns out Mel's father's research was worth billions, and all she accidentally stumbled onto was a new soft drink slogan. So yeah, wrong place, wrong time. Elf figures it out and starts racing to find her. Meanwhile, Mel is forced to drive at gunpoint and somehow just rolls the car and escapes. Just rolls it. The lawyer opens fire, which finally gives away their position to Elf. It's pitch dark now. Mel's hiding, sneaking around, trying to not get spotted, but of course, the lawyer finds her. Gun raised, and then out of nowhere, a bicycle comes flying in and takes him out. It's Elf. And just like that, it's over. No big final showdown, no big wrap up. Elf and Mel just sit there in the dark, waiting for the cops, and immediately start making out. Roll credits. Man, what a long movie. It's just non-stop. Something is always happening. Explosions, chases, planes, helicopters. It never really slows down. And honestly, it's not a bad watch. There's some genuinely solid stunts in here. A few great explosions, and a surprisingly amount of aircraft stuff for a lower budget movie. But it really does feel like two completely different films stitched together. The first half is all about making you think Elf is losing it, and then the second half just flips the switch and goes full action movie. The movie never really figures out what it wants to be. The comedy and the action don't quite blend. The jokes are just kind of there. They don't really add much. And between the accents and the audio quality, there are definitely moments where it's hard to even catch what people are saying. But at the end of the day, I had a good time watching it, and that's all that matters. So if you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into weird, forgotten movies like this. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
Bugger nearly bent our pipe.
Bastards.
Well, you know how the hairdryer makes the radio go funny? Doesn't that mean there's electricity left in it?
Yeah, but only does it when it's going.
Well, I'm telling you, it does it when it's not even plugged in. So there must be some electricity left in it.
Sorry, why are you following me?
Listen, Buster, I'll tell you why, because I can't get past you, because you drive in the middle of the bloody road as though you own it. That's why. You got your license? But they give out licenses to mental retards.
Good shot it is. Must be about 150 yards.
I was aiming for his legs. I want to talk to him.